If you're rude, dismissive, or act like you're above them, you'll find out really quickly that they can make your days very long.
You can be the best clinician in the world, but if you can't get along with the staff, it's over.
You're trained to believe there is one right way to do everything, but in the real world, there are 100 shades of right. I've had associates who came in guns blazing, ready to revolutionize the office, talking about scanners and systems on day one. And it's like, those are great ideas, but you haven't earned that influence yet. Learn the culture first.
Honestly, associateships don't fail from one big thing. They fail from 100 little things that were never discussed or respected. But they succeed when both sides communicate, clarify, and commit to mutual respect.
Welcome back to Project Confidence. Today we're talking about the challenges of being an associate in today's competitive dental job market, where new associates, or even experienced ones, make mistakes and how to set yourself up for success.
This is the episode I wish existed when we graduated.
In some ways, it feels like it was just yesterday, and in other ways, it feels like it was a lifetime ago.
I remember that weird in-between feeling when you're done with school, you've passed your boards, and you're officially a dentist, and yet you still have no idea where to go from there.
Yeah, that stage where you're like, okay, now what?
Exactly. I knew I wasn't going to buy a practice, at least not anytime soon. But when I started looking for resources or CE courses that could actually help me as a new associate, there was basically nothing out there.
Yeah, all the non-clinical CE out there is about how to buy your first practice, transitioning to ownership, how to prepare to sell your practice, estate planning for retiring dentists. And in a lot of ways, it's still like that.
Yes. And I remember sitting through these CE sessions thinking, why is no one talking about how to succeed as an associate? The message was basically, being an associate is only temporary. It's just a stepping stone, just how you pass the time and save up for cash before you become a real dentist. That's a really flippant attitude. And there's almost this disdain towards it, like it's just a phase, like dating a bad boy or thinking you can pull off bangs.
And it's so outdated. It might have been true 30 years ago when every dentist opened a solo private practice, but that's not how dentistry works anymore. Between DSOs, group practices, and the realities of student debt, being an associate can absolutely be a stable, fulfilling career path if you play it right.
Totally. But the reason so many associates struggle or fail is because no one ever tells you the rules of the game. That's what we're talking about today. Why associates fail and what you can do to avoid having that happen to you.
Okay, let's start with the number one reason associateships fail: unclear expectations. Or even worse, no expectations, because nothing was ever put in writing.
Oh, we're going there right away.
We are. I can't tell you how many people DM me or call me saying, I don't know why my job isn't working out. And then I ask, did you sign a contract? And they say, no, we just agreed verbally.
That's not an agreement. That's a conversation. And a verbal agreement is as good as the paper it's printed on.
Exactly. And sometimes they'll say, oh, I didn't want to seem pushy by asking for a contract. No, asking for a written agreement isn't pushy. It's professional. It protects both parties.
And it sets the tone that you take yourself seriously. You're not just showing up to prep teeth, you're entering a business relationship.
Yeah, if you can't talk about expectations before you start, that's a huge red flag. And even when you do have a contract, you need to understand it. What percentage are you getting? Who pays lab fees? What happens if you do a crown that needs to be redone? These details matter because they determine whether your paycheck matches your effort.
I've seen associates get burned by assumptions, myself included. They thought 30% meant that they'd be paid 30% of whatever gets billed out. And they don't realize that their contract says 30% of collected revenue, which could be very different.
Right. Always clarify. And when you're interviewing, ask the big questions up front. Why are you hiring an associate? Are you stepping back clinically? Are you trying to grow the practice? What does a typical day look like?
And how much control will you have over your schedule? Can I block longer for certain procedures or do same-day dentistry if I want to?
Exactly. And then dig into those production realities. Are you in network with insurances? And if so, which ones? For a two-surface composite, for molar endo, what's your reimbursement for these things? What's your reimbursement for a crown? You can't evaluate an offer without those numbers.
And while you're at it, talk to the team.
Oh, yes. The assistants, the hygienists, the front desk staff, they're the heartbeat of that office. They know what's really happening behind the scenes.
You need to suss out if the schedule is packed, if there's drama, or if the owner is like a micromanager or a hot mess most of the time.
And if you're going to be a general dentist, find out if you'll be expected to do your own hygiene. The workforce shortages are real, and some practices expect associates to clean teeth. Sometimes that's fine. If it leads to same day fillings, you get credit for. But other times, it's busy work that keeps you from doing more productive procedures.
And you won't know unless you ask.
Let's talk about another modern problem: people treating dental social media like it's an instruction manual.
Mm-hmm.
Scrolling through Instagram or Facebook group does not replace professional advisors. You cannot learn everything there is to know about employment law from a reel or tax strategy from TikTok.
Right. Don't assume that the internet or AI has all the answers that you'll ever need. You need a human accountant, you need a human attorney, you need experienced human professionals that you can reach out to lead you through this if it's your first time doing it. And they really need to have a track record of experience working with dentists in the same geographic area that you plan on practicing in.
Correct. Because your old college roommate who went to law school and might be a sought after divorce attorney in New York, they might not know that a restrictive covenant in Manhattan or in a Manhattan dentist's contract wouldn't actually be legally enforceable in the state of California.
Exactly. And look, you can love dental social media. It's actually awesome for connection. And there are some great clinical pearls in some of those online forums and Facebook groups. But please, don't go paying thousands of dollars upfront to a stranger that you found online who swears that they can quadruple your income and then is just going to pull advice off of ChatGPT and repackage it or recite it to you for a fee.
If their promises sound too good to be true, they probably are.
Listen, a lot of these dental influencers might be very well intentioned, and I'm not saying that they're all trying to scam you, but just make sure that you take all that advice that you receive from all of your sources with a huge grain of salt, because what worked for them might not work for everyone else.
Remember that what you're seeing on their accounts is like the shiny, happy, sparkly version of their life and career that they want you to see and aspire to. But they're not necessarily disclosing all the details of their road to success and all the mistakes they made along the way with you or the rest of their audience.
And honestly, right about now, I'm sure that there are some listeners out there thinking, well, that's really rich coming from the two of you, but isn't that what you're doing right now? And the answer is no. The difference here is that we're not trying to sell you anything.
Right. We are two dentists with our own journeys. We've made mistakes. We've figured out what works for us. But that does not mean it's gospel for everyone listening.
We're fully disclosing that we're not financial advisors. We're not attorneys and not HR specialists. We're just clinicians who've had a variety of experiences in dentistry. And we're just hoping that our stories will resonate with others in a way that's helpful, even if all it does is let people know that they're not alone in their struggles.
And we always tell our listeners, use our advice as perspective, not prescription.
So if someone out online is telling you, just Venmo me and I'll show you how to get rich, we're just saying, hey, maybe proceed with caution.
Okay, next. Learn your numbers. Know what KPIs matter.
Wait, okay, stop the train. Before we go any further, let's time out and make sure we take the time to make sure everyone knows what a KPI is, because most of us don't learn this in dental school. Or even if you did, this knowledge was probably eclipsed by having to memorize the Krebs cycle for the 1,000th time in your career so that you could regurgitate it on an exam and then never use that information again.
100%. So if you don't know, and there's no shame in not knowing, KPI stands for Key Performance Indicators. This will include your daily production, your collections rate, your lab percentage, your chair utilization, your case acceptance rate. These numbers tell you whether you're thriving or sinking.
And you can't improve what you don't measure.
Exactly. If your EMR spits out reports you can't interpret, they're just paperweights. Learn how to analyze month over month and year over year data. Are you growing? Are you stagnant? What procedures are driving your production?
And what procedures are wasting your time? As a GP, you might really like doing molar endo or taking out wisdom teeth, and you may be very good at it. But if it takes you 2 or 3 hours to do just one tooth, are you collecting enough per hour in your office the rest of the month to make it financially feasible to do root canals and surgical extractions in your office or on a regular basis?
Yeah, statistics exist so you can compare them and make data-driven decisions, not emotional ones. Because when those invoices come through and the lease payments are due on your office space or equipment, they only take cash check or credit card, not good intentions.
That's such a good point. And also, when you track your performance, you can have better conversations with your employer too. Like, here's what I produced over the last 6 months. Here's where I've improved. And here's where I want to grow.
See, now that's the kind of associate every owner loves.
Okay, Let's shift gears. I think another huge reason that associateships fail is that many new grads approach the job too egocentrically, like it's all about their growth, their learning, their mentorship.
Yeah, and mentorship is great, but the owner didn't hire you to be their student. They hired you to contribute, to lighten the load, not to add to it.
Exactly. Most practice owners are stretched really thin. They're juggling clinical work, running payroll, managing staff, reviewing labs, dealing with insurance denials. It's a lot. They don't have the time or the money to mold someone from scratch. So you need to walk in as an asset, not a project.
So true. They're not looking for someone to babysit. They're looking for someone who can hold their own.
Right. And yes, there are some owners who love teaching and are fantastic mentors, but that's the exception, not the rule. Most of the time, they hired you because they need help carrying the load. Maybe they want to work fewer days. Maybe they want you to take over hygiene checks or procedures they don't do themselves. Maybe they want coverage so they can finally take a vacation for the first time in 5 years. Either way, your presence should make their life easier, not harder.
That's such a mindset shift. You're not there to learn, you're there to add value. Learning happens along the way, but that's a byproduct of showing up and performing.
Exactly. Think about it like this. The faster you become reliable, the faster they'll want to invest in you. Owners notice when you take initiative, when you stay a little later to finish a note or check in with a patient who is nervous, when you jump in to help the assistant flip a room over without being asked. Those are the things that make you stand out.
Yes, reliability and initiative go so far. You can be an average clinician, but if the team knows you are dependable, polite, and easy to work with, they'll advocate for you, and so will the owner.
That's huge. And here's another thing. Don't walk in trying to change everything your first week. Learn the systems. Observe how things are done before suggesting improvements. There's a rhythm to every office, and if you learn to move with it instead of against it, people will start trusting your input.
It's like joining an orchestra. You don't grab the conductor's baton on day one. You learn the tempo, the cues, the dynamics.
Exactly. And once the owner sees that you get it, that you care about their patients, respect their team, and understand their workflow, that's when the real mentorship starts because now they want to pour into you.
And that's the paradox, right? When you stop demanding mentorship, you actually earn it. When you focus on being the kind of associate an owner can count on, you'll get the mentorship, the autonomy, and the trust you were hoping for in the first place.
Right. You stop saying, teach me, and start saying, I've got this. And that's when the magic happens because they finally believe that you do. Okay, we have to talk about the human side of this relationships. You can be the best clinician in the world, but if you can't get along with the staff, it's over.
Oh, 100%. Offices live and die by team culture. You can have the fanciest tech, the prettiest ops, the best Yelp or Google reviews, but if the vibe is off, people feel it.
Owners spend years finding the right mix of people: assistants, front desk, hygienists, people who are going to work well together. It's like a family system. So if you come in and upset that balance, you're not an asset, you're a disruption.
And staff loyalty usually goes to the owner, not the associate. So if you're rude, dismissive, or act like you're above them, you'll find out really quickly that they can make your days very long.
Oh, they absolutely can. Ask me how I know. A well timed lost lab case or accidentally double booked appointment can humble you really fast.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not even intentional. It's just that they don't go out of their way to help you anymore. They'll stop catching mistakes before they reach you, or they'll forget to seat your patient on time. Those little micro behaviors tell you exactly where you stand.
Which is why the smartest associates are the ones who invest time in learning how the office runs, who the go to person is for supplies, who actually controls the schedule, who the real influencers are in the back. It's office politics, but it's also self preservation.
Totally. It's emotional intelligence. Read the room. Say good morning. Learn people's names. Notice when someone's having a tough day and offer to help. You'd be shocked at how far, hey, I'll take the next patient while you finish that can go.
Because you need them on your side. The assistant who helps set up your op, knows when you're in trouble mid procedure, or praises the quality of your work before you enter the room and then reminds patients how lucky they are to be treated by you, they're worth their weight in gold.
And the front desk who schedules efficiently, that's the difference between $2,000 and a $20,000 day. So treat them well and respect every role.
100%. Buy coffee. Bring snacks. Say thank you. Not just when they save your day, but every day. It's not brown nosing. It's building goodwill.
Yep, because at the end of the day, your success as an associate depends way more on relationships than on how quickly you can get patients in and out of the chair.
Let's talk dollars. You need to understand exactly how you're compensated and when you're paid. Sounds basic, but it's where so many associates get blindsided.
100%. And not just your percentage, know what deductions exist. Are lab fees coming out of your pay, supply costs, redo work, CE reimbursement? It all matters.
Yes. And also, clarify what happens when work needs to be redone. Are you responsible for the cost? Will it come out of your next check? What if it's a redo or it's someone else's work?
That's a huge point. I've literally seen associates docked for redoing someone else's crown because the owner said, well, the patient came back on your day. That's wild.
And it happens more often than you think. You assume it's common sense. Of course, I shouldn't have to pay for someone else's mistake. But unless it's written, it's up for interpretation.
Don't assume fairness. Get it clarified. Ask to see how adjustments and remakes are handled. What counts as a redo? You can't manage what you don't measure. Ask how often you'll get production reports, who reviews them with you, and whether you get to see collection versus just production.
That's key. Associates get caught off guard when they're paid on collections instead of production, and then realize half their patients are on payment plans or insurance write offs.
And then there's the courtesy treatment trap. Some owners like to extend free or discounted care to referring doctors, staff, or their families. But what happens when that work gets scheduled for you, the associate?
Congratulations, you've earned a full day of unpaid labor and the staff's eternal gratitude.
Exactly. You're booked solid. Everyone's thanking you. And you're like, wait, this entire morning is $0?
Right. It's not about being greedy, it's about being informed. You're trading time and skill for compensation. It's not selfish, it's professionalism.
So ask. It's not rude, it's business. And honestly, if an owner gets offended by those questions, that's a red flag. Transparency should be the baseline, not the exception.
Exactly. Know what you're signing, what you're worth, and what's being taken off the top. That's how you stay empowered and not blindsided. Omri, tell me what your offices do as far as marketing and patient flow. If I'm an associate in your practice, is it your job to make sure that the schedulers are filling my chairs, or is it mine?
It's a really good question, Diana. Honestly, it kind of depends on the setup of the practice. So in a DSO, marketing is usually handled by a centralized team. They take care of advertising, patient acquisition, and a lot of the systems that keep the schedule full. In a private practice, though, like ours, it's typically the office's responsibility. Ideally, the owner should drive that, but not every owner wants to put in the time or has a solid strategy for it. For me, I think the best approach is shared responsibility. Yes, the office should absolutely be supporting you with marketing and scheduling, but I also believe associates do better when they take some ownership too. I want my doctors to feel empowered to speak the same treatment language we do, plan comprehensively, and build their own rapport with patients. So, in my practices, we handle the marketing and flow on the office side, but we also give associates the tools and opportunities to promote themselves and grow their patient base because I see it as a partnership. Our team brings the patients in, and the associate builds trust and relationships that keep them coming back. That's when everyone wins.
That sounds reasonable to me. But what if I'm in an office where they say, no, we expect you to build your own patient base? Then should I be asking how? Like, what support would I get? And who pays for those ads or mailers or social media?
I'm totally in favor of associates getting involved in marketing because I think it helps you connect with patients and build your own following, but you shouldn't be paying for the office's marketing. That's the owner's responsibility. Now, if you want to do extra things like post on social media, host a community event, or create content to show your personality, I'll back you 100%. We'll help with ideas, branding, whatever you need. But the baseline stuff, ads, mailers, SEO, that should always be covered by the practice. The way I see it, the office handles the budget and strategy, and the associate brings the energy and engagement. When both sides do their part, everybody wins.
Right. And as the associate, your primary job should be to show up and deliver great dentistry and great patient experiences. In many ways, I think that is marketing.
Yep, every patient who leaves happy is your walking billboard.
Okay, let's now talk about something a little bit more nuanced, the balance between your values and the owner's philosophy.
That's a tricky one. It's not something they really teach you in dental school either. You're trained to believe there's one right way to do everything, but in the real world, there are 100 shades of right.
Every dentist has their own fingerprint, their philosophy on treatment planning and what conservative dentistry means to them, how aggressively they diagnose, and how they communicate risk and benefit to patients. So none of it is necessarily wrong, but it can feel different from what we were taught or what feels natural to you.
Totally. One doctor might want to watch an incipient lesion for 6 months, and another might say, let's restore it now before it gets worse. And if you're the associate, you're working under their license and their practice with their patient base, that dynamic can be hard to navigate.
Yes, and here's where emotional maturity comes in. You can have integrity and still adapt to someone else's system. Adapting doesn't mean selling out, it means that you're being receptive enough to learn. You're there to absorb what works, not to prove that your way is the only way.
I love that. It's not about losing your voice, it's about learning flexibility. You can still have your own principles, but you're practicing them in someone else's environment.
Exactly. And sometimes that means biting your tongue when you think that you would do something differently. You can make a little mental note for your future practice or your next job. But in the moment, the respectful thing would be to align with the owner's vision, unless it compromises patient safety or ethics.
Right. And there's a huge difference between I wouldn't necessarily do it that way and that's unethical. Learn to tell those apart. Because if you challenge everything that's just a preference, you'll come across as combative instead of conscientious.
And it's important to remember that you're being observed all the time. How you handle those differences, whether you gossip about them or discuss them privately with professionalism, tells the owner and staff what kind of teammate you are.
And that goes both ways. I've had associates who came in guns blazing, ready to revolutionize the office, talking about scanners and systems on day one. And it's like, those are great ideas, but you haven't earned that influence yet. Learn the culture first.
Yes, learn before you lead. The more time you spend just watching how the practice runs, like how treatment plans are being presented, how recalls are managed, how patients respond, the better you'll understand why the owner does things that way.
Exactly. You might realize their system actually works beautifully, just different from what you expected. Or you might see opportunities to improve. But when you bring those ideas up later, it'll come from a place of understanding and not judgment.
You want to make sure you're always upholding the standard of care, but also open minded enough to see different approaches. It's a great way to grow without being defensive. And some of the biggest breakthroughs in my own teaching came from seeing how other clinicians did things that I never would have thought to try.
Same. I've picked up tips from older dentists, new grads, even specialists. Everyone's got a little piece of wisdom to share if you're paying attention.
And if something does seem questionable, don't blow up or gossip about it. Have a calm, direct conversation with the owner. Like, hey, I noticed this situation. Can I ask your perspective on how you'd like me to handle it? That's so much more constructive than, well, at my last office, we never did that.
That's such a good point. You can disagree respectfully. You can advocate for your patient without undermining your boss. That's a skill that'll serve you your whole career.
Exactly, because it's okay to not agree with everything, but professionalism means respecting the space that you're in. So adapt where you can and speak up when you must. And always remember that how you handle differences says as much about your character as your clinical work. Okay, we have to end with this one. My personal favorite lesson. Don't throw other dentists under the bus.
Yes, it happens so often.
Think about it. You open up a chart or you take new x-rays and you see a filling or a crown and you think, Jesus, who did this? And then you get excited because that's your big chance to pitch replacing this high production procedure to the patient. But guys, if you're talking shit about their previous dentist's skills or clinical judgment, saying stuff like, I don't know what this dentist was thinking, and I would never have done this. Big mistake.
Huge.
Oh, we just had a little Julia Roberts Pretty Woman moment.
Oh.
Okay, sorry. The ADA Code of Ethics literally says a dentist shall not disparage the professional services of another dentist to a patient. So it's not just etiquette, it's ethics.
And sometimes patients want you to take the bait because they're trying to get a refund or build a case for a complaint or even a lawsuit.
Exactly. Don't fall for it. Unless you were there, you don't know the context. That patient might have been really uncooperative, anxious, couldn't open, or the isolation was impossible.
And when you're fresh out of school, it's easy to be judgy because you were trained in ideal conditions with 4-hour-long appointments.
Yes. I remember early on, I would think to myself, oh, this contour is awful. The shade is off. I could totally fix this. And then I get in there and I realize, nope. The patient barely opens, the tongue is totally in the way, and I am sweating bullets just trying to place a class 2. And then I wind up doing a worse job than the other dentist.
We've all been there, whether or not we're willing to admit it.
And the thing that you realize after practicing for as long as we have is that passing judgment on another dentist's clinical work doesn't prove that you're a better doctor than they are, or that you have higher standards or got a better education. It actually has the opposite effect. It shows how insecure you are in clinical settings and how little you know about what it actually means to be a professional.
Absolutely. Giving others the benefit of the doubt in that situation and treating them the way that you'd like to be treated if you were the dentist whose work was being scrutinized, that's the ultimate sign of maturity and experience. So respect your colleagues and choose kindness at every opportunity you can.
So honestly, associateships don't fail from one big thing. They fail from 100 little things that were never discussed or respected. But they succeed when both sides communicate, clarify, and commit to mutual respect.
And when you walk in asking, how can I make this practice better instead of what can I get from this job? That's when you stand out and become the associate they want to keep around. And everyone agrees is future partner or owner material if that's what you want.
All right, friends, thanks for tuning in. We hope this episode gives you some real tools and confidence to navigate your associateship.
Don't forget to subscribe. Write to us at projectconfidence@gmail.com. Visit us on Instagram at projectconfidence and let your dental besties know about us.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.